Welcome to B.O.S. Retirement Solutions, the podcast. We're so excited today to have our guest, Tom Hegna. Tom has become a good friend of ours. He's an economist, a best-selling author. He's been featured on Forbes. He's also the host of Tom Hegna's Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, which is a national TV show on Fox. We're so glad you're with us, Tom, and we're excited to talk to you about today's topic. So welcome.
Thank you very much. Great to be with the both of you.
Thanks, Tom. So one of the things that we were talking about before today's show is if you're like us, you're shocked at what is being taught in school, but you're actually more shocked about what our schools don't teach our kids, especially as it relates to money, wealth, and how to keep that wealth, right?
That's right. I mean, they're not teaching kids about, interest, good and bad, because compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. But when it compounds against you in the form of credit card debt and car loans and things, it can really hurt you. So there's a lot to be desired on the educational level in the schools regarding finances.
That's so true, Tom. It's, after doing this now for over 25 years and helping people solve financial problems, one of the common questions that we get all of the time is, how can I teach this to my kids? And if I would have, the question that we formulated this podcast around today was, if you could go back and change the top 3 financial mistakes that you've made over your lifetime, how much more money would you have? What would you say to that, Tom?
I've been a fairly aggressive investor over the years, and I've made some really good investments, and I've made some really bad investments. And I chose probably about 15 years ago to not lose money anymore. So I'm in the mode now where I want to make as much as I can make, but I don't want to lose what I've already got. And I think that's a key lesson. You want to minimize losses in your life. And, the old adage, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. That's played out a number of times when people say, oh, you can't believe this rate of return I'm getting. Yeah, you get it for 3 months and then the place goes a bust. I remember I went to this big seminar on payphones back when payphones were around, and I put some money into this payphone business, and they stole my money. It was out of Florida. And then I look back and I say, well, I would have lost anyway because nobody uses payphones anymore anyway. So, but at the time that was a chunk of money for me. And, I think every person has either been cheated out of something or they made it just a bad investment or made bad timing. And so what I've tried to do with this book of, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire is put the advice that I've given my kids on how to build wealth. And there are some very simple ways that I believe most every American, if they really wanted to be, they could become wealthy in America today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one of the fun things that why we had you on today is because we're so excited to be able to talk to our clients' kids. And I think so many parents think to themselves, man, I need to share what I've learned, but they don't necessarily know how to share it in the best way possible. So what would you say is one of the biggest misconceptions that young adults have about money and wealth?
Well, they don't realize that they are already wealthy. You see, there's more than one form of wealth. We always think wealth is money, but I would say one of the biggest forms of wealth is time. And they have time because in the book, I talk about the rule of 72. That's how fast money doubles. And so, if you get one, what you do is you take whatever the interest rate or rate of return is, you divide it into 72, and that tells you how many years it will take for your money to double. So if you're getting 1% interest, it'll take you 72 years to double your money. But if you're getting 10% on your money, it'll only take 7.2 years. And what I would tell people is I say, you don't think you're wealthy right now. You have 150,000 in your 401k, but we want to double that to 300,000, then to 600,000, then to 1.2 million, 2.4 million, 4.8 million. And when you start realizing that over time, you don't build wealth overnight. You build wealth over 40, 50, 60 years. And that's the thing I think young people forget about, that if they could just put a little bit of money away when they're young, the time factor will turn their time wealth into financial wealth. It's just crazy. And then there's other forms of wealth. There's physical health is a form of wealth. If you're healthy, I would argue you're pretty wealthy. There's spiritual wealth. There's emotional wealth. So there's more than one type of wealth. I show people how achieve financial wealth, but by using some of the other wealths that they may not realize that they have.
Tom, many people call you the retirement income expert around the country. And it doesn't matter if you look at all of the books you've written, Paychecks and Playchecks, and you look at all of the different books that you have put together. We've had you come and speak to our client events many, many times. And we've been on the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire show with you on Fox. You've been doing this for a long time, and you've spent the time to research. And I love the thing that you say, this is about math and science. This is not about, hey, some super duper strategy. It's about math and science. With all of your decades of experience, what's the one thing that you would tell young savers right now who want to be millionaires?
I would say, number one, stop trying to look wealthy. You don't have to drive a brand new Tesla. You don't have to have a lifted pickup if you're 24 years of age, okay? You don't need to have fancy things right away. Focus on becoming wealthy than trying to look wealthy. I say most Americans could be millionaires except for two simple things. Number one, they spend way too much money on their cars and they get divorced. So the moral of the story is drive a used car and stick with your first spouse. Now, I say that tongue in cheek, but if you look at, first of all, we know that divorce is like a financial nuclear bomb going off in a portfolio. I have a number of friends. My wife and I just celebrated our 41st anniversary last night.
Congratulations.
We went out to dinner and everything. And I've a number of friends who've been divorced 2 and 3 times, and I've just watched their wealth just deplete. Okay, so that's a given. But where most Americans are missing it is on spending way too much money on their cars. And in the book, I give an example where I had a chance to buy a brand new pickup for $65,000, or I could buy a 2-year-old pickup for $30,000 with 13,000 miles. Well, I bought the used one. It looked brand new. It had all the bells and whistles. Now, if I take that extra $35,000, if I get 6% or 8%, that's going to grow anywhere from $300,000 to $1.8 million over the next 30, 40, 50 years. And that's just one vehicle. And I'm married with 4 kids. I don't know. We've had 20 vehicles plus or minus 3, I would think. So you start multiplying some of those dollars times 20 and 25 vehicles, and you can see that most Americans would easily become millionaires, because here's the deal. You've got to put your money into appreciating assets. You don't want to put your money into depreciating assets. And I see too many young people that are buying cars and boats and jet skis and handbags and shoes and dresses, and they're spending all this money on things that go down in value every day. Worse than that, they're taking out loans to pay this. So they're paying interest on things that are going down in value. You will never get wealthy doing that. So you want to put the majority of your money into appreciating assets. You don't want to overspend on cars. I believe most Americans are driving their $1 million retirements down the road. Oh, don't I look good? I got my new Tesla driving down the road. And that's their $1 million retirement. And I'm just saying,
yes.
You could buy a 2 or 3-year-old Tesla and put the other money and start that really saving. And that's how you build wealth. You put your money into appreciating assets, not depreciating assets.
Yeah. So this brings up a really good point. Ryan mentioned your book, Paychecks and Playchecks. And so many Americans, they think to themselves, hey, look, I don't have quite enough money in my paycheck right now to set money aside. So I'm not saving yet, but I'm going to next year. Why is it so important as you talk about in your books, Tom, that you need to set aside money from every single check?
Yeah. When I was advisor 30 years ago, I remember going up to a person's house and they had, a pickup truck, a brand new car. They had a couple jet skis over there. They had a RV. They had a satellite dish on the roof. And I go in there and say, well, we don't have any money to save. And I said, no. You have plenty of money to save. You're just making some wrong decisions. So I'm going to help you. This would be for Craigslist. I'm going to help you write out the for sale ads. And we're going to sell 2 of these things. All right. Because not only are you paying on them, there's insurance. People forget about the total cost of everything. They buy a Tesla. Oh, it's $1,000 a month. Yeah. Have you seen what car insurance have done lately? So then they got that. And then you got some maintenance and something, and they don't understand the total cost of the vehicle. And so what I would do is I would say, look, we just have to prioritize differently. We need to get rid of some of this stuff. Right now, here's what's happening. You're paying all your money to all these other people. And at the end, you're at the end of the line, and there's nothing left for you. My job is to move you to the front of the line. You have to pay yourself first. Before you make a car payment, before you make an insurance payment, you have to save some money. That's paying yourself first. Why are you working all these hours and working as hard as you are, and you're not getting anything for that? And the other thing is, a lot of young people think retirement's boring. Do you want to know how unboring my retirement is? For 30 years, I spent 200 days a year on the road. I was the hardest worker I knew. I didn't know anybody who worked harder than me. I could not justify a country club membership. I'm a golfer, but it made no sense because I wasn't around enough. And there's a buy-in, and there's monthly dues, and the minimum food and beverage. Well, now I'm a member of two. All right. I won the club championship in 2020. I won the senior club championship in 2022. I'm having fun. My wife and I went on a Panama Canal cruise. We went on a Mediterranean cruise last year for our 40th. We went on a Caribbean cruise. We just got back from Barbados a couple weeks ago. We're leaving in a month for Portugal and the Canary Islands. We're doing Australia in the spring. We're doing the Viking Grand European Tour next summer. We're like kids in a candy store. This is what retirement is. It's financial freedom. And so don't think retirement's boring. Don't think it's terrible. Look forward to it with excitement and pay yourself first so that you can get there and enjoy it.
We've helped thousands of families prepare and plan for their retirement. And we can confidently say this from experience. It doesn't really matter how much you've saved for retirement. It's what you do with the money that really matters. If you've saved $1 million for retirement, for example, a comprehensive plan for your money could make 1 million act like 2 million. But it could go in the opposite direction too. If you don't have a plan, you could have 2 million work like it was just 1 million. That's the kind of impact a comprehensive financial game plan could have with your retirement savings. Let's make sure you have the best retirement plan for your unique situation. It all starts with a free customized B.O.S. retirement blueprint. This process could help you save tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes in retirement. Also discover the strategies for wringing every nickel out of your Social Security benefits, plus so much more. It's easy to get started with your free B.O.S. retirement blueprint. Just check out the description for this episode where it says, get your free B.O.S. retirement blueprint. You can text, click, or call 800-769-7550 and connect with a member of our team. It's right there in the description. A text, a call, or a click is all it takes to get started with your free B.O.S. retirement blueprint.
I love it, Tom. Thank you. So the next thing that I want to talk through is, I think you mentioned at the open of the show that, you like to invest, and sometimes even aggressively. But the whole premise of all of your books is you've got to have an income stream that you can count on throughout your life. What does that mean to somebody who's like your children who are in their 30s and 40s? Because they may think to themselves, I got to get to $2 million. I got to get to $3 million to be able to be okay in retirement.
Yeah, I really don't strongly encourage them to start seriously using income products until they're in their 40s and 50s. Because when they're 20s, 30s, they're building a family. They might need a down payment on a house. They might have an emergency, and I don't want to tie up money to 59.5 and things like that. But what I do teach them is that retirement is all about income. It's not about assets. Assets can be lost. They can be stolen. They can be swindled. They can be sued. They can be divorced. They can be decimated in a market crash. Really, the two things that are important in retirement is how much guaranteed increasing income do you have, and have you taken the key retirement risks off the table? And those are the important things once you get to retirement. But for the younger people, I want them really focused on building that wealth. And then when they're in their 40s and 50s, it's a lot easier to start transferring some of that wealth into income producing vehicles for their retirement.
Tom, I loved when you talked about walking up to that house and seeing the new cars and the truck and all those different pieces. And, we absolutely agree with you. I mean, every car in the good old days prices were $500,000. In today's prices, you're driving $1 million retirement for every vehicle that you own.
And Ryan, just one point. If anybody doesn't believe that, just ask them to take their car payment and put it into a time value of money calculator at 6 or 7 or 8% or whatever percent you think is a fairly reasonable return, and then hit the button for 30 and 40 and 50 years and just see what that adds up to. It'll be multiple millions, right?
Tom, I love that. You just simply look at the compounding effect of that. in our early career, we spent a lot of time helping 30 and 40-year-olds plan and prepare for retirement. And we used cash value life insurance as the way to fund your vehicles versus going to the bank. And, it was so frustrating because you had this amazing strategy with cash value life insurance that literally you could pay yourself back. You could borrow from the policy, you could pay yourself back. And so many people miss that aspect of cash value life insurance. I know you're a big fan of cash value life insurance. Can you just talk about the power of cash value life insurance and how that can help you literally capture all of those lost dollars by repositioning in those into a great vehicle?
Absolutely. And I mean, I'm such a big believer. My premium was $226,000 a year
Wow.
into life insurance because here's the deal. People who think it's just life insurance, they say that's stupid. But when you realize it's an incredible asset class, that it does things that no other asset can do, and it's not a stock substitute, but it's a great bond substitute. It's a great wealth building place. If you look at really wealthy people, they don't have all their money in the stock market. They don't. They own a lot of treasury bonds and things like that. Well, life insurance, good cash value life insurance policy will pay you more than one of those government bonds, and it comes with a death benefit as well. I was able to buy 2 houses with it because here in Arizona, when you go to buy a house, you got to have cash. They don't want a contingency. They don't want a loan. They want cash. Well, where are you going to get, $1 million cash just like that? Well, you can do it out of your policy. And so I took it out of my policy. I paid my policy back, and then we bought one down in Mesa to go to another one, bought the house. So I was able to buy 2 houses with cash from my policy. There's this whole thing, be your own banker and everything. I don't know where I stand and all that, but I've used it as my own bank several times. It works very well. And the other thing that I think the young people need to realize is taxes have gone right, or taxes are going to have to go through the roof because our debt now is at $35 trillion. Our country is paying $3 billion every morning for interest on the debt. That's over $1 trillion a year. That's more than for the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Space Force. It's insane. It's unsustainable. And so I believe taxes are going to have to go up a lot. And so that's why I've been moving more of my own personal wealth to cash value life insurance. Now, I did buy my first permanent policy when I was, I think, 26 or 27, and that thing has grown and grown and grown. And then back then, that was before the 7-pay test. That was a 5-pay whole life. I only had to pay for 5 years.
Wow.
And then it was done. I mean, there are tools that are available to young people, but I do say this: you need to work with a financial professional. This is not a do-it-yourself project. I know this stuff inside and out, and I have 2 financial professionals that I work with because I don't follow every product. As you know, they change products every couple of weeks in these companies. There's so many companies, so many options out there. So I think you have to work with a financial professional and pay yourself first. Move yourself to the front of the line. You're working so hard. And what are you working for? You don't work for free. Yep. Pay yourself first.
Yeah, it's so important. And that's one of the reasons why we're having the event that we're having is we want to be able to talk through with the parents and the kids in the same room about what's happening with their parents' retirement so that they can start getting an inkling of what it's going to look like. I want to talk a little bit more, going back to what you just mentioned about taxes, Tom. I don't want to gloss over this because I think a lot of people don't recognize how big of a deal this is and what it's going to do to somebody's income, their savings and investments if they're not careful. So what else would you say about taxes?
Well, I say it's not a Republican or Democrat issue. It's a math problem. We need a math party. We need a party that can actually add and subtract. And so here's another thing I would say to young people. Be very careful about putting too much money in a 401k. Now, we've all been taught to do that. And for our generation, it made perfect sense. Taxes were high. You took money out of your account. You got a tax deduction. It grew tax deferred. And then when taxes went down, you could take it out of retirement. But we know taxes are not going to go down in the future. Taxes are going to have to go up. So how much sense does it make to put money in your 401k today, get a tax deduction, let it grow tax deferred, so when taxes double, you can take it out and get really hammered? That doesn't make a lot of sense. So what I tell people is contribute up to the match, because like if you put in 4%, they match with 4%, that's 100% rate of return. So I would do that. But anything beyond the match, I would not put it in a 401k or IRA. I'd put it in a Roth 401k. I'd put it in a Roth IRA. I'd put it in cash value life insurance, but I would not put it in a 401k. And I think if people keep building all their wealth in 401ks, they're going to be so disappointed at how little money they get. I'm a golfer. I was playing golf with a guy the other day, and he said, Tom, I got $1 million in my 401k. And I said, that's great. I said, how much of that is yours? He said, what do you mean? It's all mine. I said, no. You have a partner. In fact, you're the limited partner. The government's the general partner. They get to take their cut first, and you're going to get whatever's left over. The problem is you have no idea what they're going to take out. I mean, right now it's 36, 37%, 39%. What happens when that goes to 50%, 60%, 70%? And don't say it can't happen. For almost the whole 1900s, the highest marginal tax rate was over 70%, and there was a whole bunch of years when it was over 90%. So it has happened, and it will likely happen again. And I've converted all my IRAs and 401ks to Roth, and I'm moving more of my personal wealth to cash value life insurance.
That right there is a great place for us to end today. Tom, thank you so much for joining us. For those of you who are listening, don't make the mistake that's when Tyson and I were helping the 30 and 40-year-olds at the beginning of our careers, we learned there was one word that really came down to, and that word was discipline. So many people were more interested in buying the brand new car, taking the kids to Disneyland, and buying that new, bigger house. Well, what that does is at the end of their life, you look backwards, and that's one of the biggest mistakes. They didn't line up the ability to have a solid place to put their money. So that when they borrowed, like Tom shared in this story, that you could buy the house with the cash value life insurance, or you could buy your cars with the cash value life insurance. The tax portion of it, that, equalizing the unfair advantage in retirement planning right now is making sure that not only do you have asset diversification, but you have tax diversification in your accounts. And then the third piece, everyone wants to be like Tom, cruises, golfing, doing those things that you've loved to do. And I know one of the things that we love about having Tom at all of our events is he's not only sharing principles, but he's living the principles.
Thanks for listening to the Retirement Solutions Podcast with Tyson Thacker and Ryan Thacker. If today's episode inspired you to plan for retirement, go to bossretirement.com/podcast to receive a complimentary Boss Retirement Blueprint. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another story to help you retire with confidence. B.O.S. Retirement Solutions is an independent financial services firm helping individuals create retirement strategies using a variety of investment and insurance products to custom suit their needs and objectives. Investment advisory services are offered by duly registered individuals through B.O.S. Retirement Advisors, B.O.S., an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. The information contained in this podcast is given for informational purposes only, and no statement contained herein shall constitute tax, legal, or investment advice. The information is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. You should seek advice on legal and tax questions from an independent attorney or tax advisor. Our firm is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.